Hello, I'm Antonio Mora. Welcome to Consider This. Did the A&E network show courage or corporate cowardice when it suspended the star of the nation's most popular reality shows for comments many found homophobic and racist? 67-year-old Phil Robertson, the patriarch of the Dynasty clan, isn't known for being politically correct.
My idea of happiness is killing things. Boom, 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 bow, boom, bow, bow, boom, bow, bow. Women are like Labrador retrievers. You know, they all have quirks. But you stay married to one 45, 50 years, you learn to go with the quirks.
And the A&E network learned to go with the Robertson family after Duck Dynasty became a ratings phenomenon, averaging 14 million viewers a show. But A&E put Robertson on indefinite hiatus Wednesday night after he made comments about gays and growing up in the segregated South in an article for GQ magazine. A self-described Bible-thumping Christian, Robertson paraphrased the Bible when he said the following: "Start with homosexual behavior and just morph out from there. Bestiality, sleeping around with this woman and that woman, neither the adulterers, the idolaters, the male prostitutes, the homosexual offenders, the greedy, the drunkards, the slanderers, the swindlers, they won't inherit the kingdom of God." Robertson also insisted that black people he grew up with in the South before the Civil Rights era were happy and didn't resent whites. Here's part of what he said: "I never, with my eyes, saw the mistreatment of any black person. Pre-entitlement, pre-welfare, you say, were they happy? They were godly. They were happy. No one was singing the blues." The Human Rights Campaign, the NAACP, and GLAAD all objected to those comments, but Robertson has his defenders, including former Alaska Governor Sarah Palin, Texas Senator Ted Cruz, and Louisiana Governor Bobby Jindal. The governor had some harsh words for A&E and for A&E co-owner ABC's plans to highlight singer Miley Cyrus over the holiday.
I think there's a hypocrisy on the left when the left is tolerant of every viewpoint except those that disagree with them. So here you've got a network saying we're going to allow Miley Cyrus to be on this New Year's Day special, and they're trying to silence Phil for speaking out and speaking up and saying his mind.
Does he have a point? For more, I'm joined via Skype from Baton Rouge, Louisiana by Rod Dreher. He's a senior editor with the American Conservative magazine. With me from Cleveland, Ohio is Jason Johnson, an Al Jazeera English contributor and political science professor at Hiram College. And joining me here in New York is Tom Doherty, Republican strategist and former senior advisor to New York Governor George Pataki. Great to have you all with us. Jason, I'm going to start with you. Did A&E, I want to ask you all this question, did A&E do the right thing when the network put Phil Robertson on this indefinite hiatus for the comments he made?
I mean, they did the right thing for money, but they didn't do the right thing politically or morally. Let's be perfectly honest. This is a show about a bunch of Southern bumpkins. This is not a stereotype. This is not something we made up. I can only imagine the kinds of things that this family says that are on the cutting room floor. And the reality is, if you're trying to get people who represent this older sort of backwoods way of thinking, you should have just kept them on the air and said, look, we reprimanded him, we told him not to say it again, and keep him on. No one believes that this is about conviction. It's about cash. They think they offended a couple of people, and now they want to silence him. I think it's ridiculous.
Rod, do you agree? Was this an act of courage by A&E's management or a case of corporate cowardice?
Absolute cowardice. I mean, they knew what they had with the Robertson family. I think what Phil Robertson said was vulgar about homosexuals and stupid and offensive about Jim Crow. But he is a 67-year-old redneck, self-described redneck, fundamentalist Christian from rural Louisiana. Come on, A&E. You knew what you had here.
Tom?
I think he had a choice. I mean, I think that when you run a corporation like this, this is hate speech. This isn't just taking a position that, you know, we're opposed to gay marriage. I mean, some of the things he said, not only about African Americans, about gay people, are just outrageous. Now, A&E is to be blamed here because they didn't do their due diligence in researching this. I mean, these remarks were made some time back. They should have known this. But I'm quite frankly, Antonio, I'm very surprised at some of the Republican politicians who are coming out comparing this somehow to Miley Cyrus. I mean,
well, let's get to that in a moment, but you're bringing up the point about Phil Robertson having made these kinds of comments before, and in fact, we found something online that he said a while ago talking about gay people while delivering a sermon in 2010.
They committed indecent acts with one another, and they received in themselves the due penalty for their perversions. They're full of murder, envy, strife, hatred. They are insolent, arrogant, God haters.
So again, that's as extreme as anything he said to GQ.
So how do you get to a point where you actually give the guy a show and give him a platform? I mean, listen, are any of us shocked that a 67-year-old guy who seems to be living in the Stone Ages made these comments? No, but a network can't allow that to go forward. I mean, they just need to get rid of him and move on.
And Jason, on the other hand, I mean, go ahead.
Yeah, no, they can. They can keep it. Look, this is what you're buying. When we get Jersey Shore, we expect a bunch of sexist, obnoxious behavior. When you watch Family Guy or South Park, you want a bunch of suburban, obnoxious, privileged humor from kids. This is what you're purchasing. I do not think it is honest or sincere to fire this guy now, or to suspend him. If they want to do it because they think it's going to make a good PR move, but I think it's very, very disingenuous. And I don't think it's hate speech. He's just ignorant. It's not the same thing as hate speech in my view.
Well, to Phil Robertson, his comments are simply rooted in the Bible. He said Thursday in a statement, this is a quote, "My mission today is to go forth and tell people about why I follow Christ and also what the Bible teaches. And part of that teaching is that women and men are meant to be together. However, I would never treat anyone with disrespect just because they are different from me." Robertson insists his comments weren't meant to be disrespectful. Does he deserve the benefit of the doubt?
Well, I think it's hard to see his comments as anything but disrespectful, if not worse. On the other hand, what he said is a close paraphrase of the Bible. People who are freaking out and having a conniption over his words ought to read the Bible. It's in St. Paul. Secondly, what Robertson believes is the same thing that Pope Francis believes, although said in a much more angry and vulgar way. It's basically what Pope Francis believes, because it's what the Catholic Church and Orthodox Christianity teaches. The Pope was the Advocate magazine's Man of the Year. I think there's a real double standard going on here, because Robertson is from rural South Louisiana.
Does Rod have a point, Tom? This was a guy being interviewed who was, talking off the cuff, and could it be that he just misspoke, that he didn't he didn't equate, as some people have said, homosexuality with bestiality, but he did bunch them together.
He bunched it all together, but more importantly, I thought we've reached a point in society where he was very crude in his comments about the female vagina and a male's anus, etc., and that how could a man not want one as opposed to the other. I mean, we've come a long way in these conversations, and giving a platform as if, this is an opinion that's an accepted opinion, I think is wrong. And I disagree that this isn't hate speech. I mean, this is clearly hateful towards people who live a lifestyle that he doesn't agree with.
Now, Jason, is A&E any different than MSNBC when it let Alec Baldwin go last month after he used a homophobic slur? CBS 25 years ago dropped sports commentary. Actually, I'm not even sure if it was, I guess it was CBS, although he made the comments on ABC. Jimmy the Greek, after he made some racist comments. ESPN dropped Rush Limbaugh in 2003. Isn't A&E doing basically the damage control, just following that damage control script, exactly what everybody else does in a situation like this?
No, I think it's different, and those examples make it perfectly clear, or even Don Imus. Those are news organizations, even if it's sports news, and they have an obligation to say, look, there are people who are going to be coming here who need to be interviewed, and therefore the attitudes you're expressing are going to have a negative impact on people who have to actually work here. Duck Dynasty is about people who think this way. No one who watched this show is remotely surprised that he has this belief system. So to suddenly say, my goodness, I can't believe that he's a bigot and a racist, we're going to have to hide him for 15 or 20 minutes so that you can bring him back and get more ratings, it's completely disingenuous. Be honest about who it is you've hired. When Dog the Bounty Hunter was caught being a racist, was anyone shocked by that? No. So I think a news organization getting rid of someone and an entertainment program pretending that somebody doesn't have beliefs that they hired him for, it's a completely different situation.
Yeah, but that goes to the point that you think that everybody lives in the backwoods of Louisiana is a racist. I think that's unfair to a lot of the people who live down there.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying they hired him because of the beliefs that he and his family have. Obviously, Bobby Jindal wouldn't say something like that. Mary Landrieu, there's tons of people from Louisiana who don't believe that way, and the South. But he does, and that's why they hired him. And it's dishonest for them to suddenly say that they're shocked to have this man do exactly what it is that they hired him to be, which is backwoods and country, and remind people of a mindset that they can no longer say publicly. And that's completely different from being a journalist.
Well, to Senator Ted Cruz, the issues are religious liberty liberty and free speech. According to the senator, Phil expressed his personal views and his own religious faith. For that, he was suspended from his job. In a free society, anyone is free to disagree with him, but the mainstream media should not behave as the thought police, censoring the views with which they disagree. Former Alaska Governor Sarah Palin agreed, chiming in with this, saying free speech is an endangered species. Those intolerants hating and taking on the Duck Dynasty patriarch for voicing his personal opinion are taking on all of us. Rod, your reaction to that?
Look, I hate to get mixed up and be on with Sarah Palin and be on her side, but I think she makes a good point in this way. If Phil Robertson loses his gig because he stood up for Orthodox Christian beliefs, it's no big deal for him because he's really wealthy. But what about all the people, the little people out there who may make one quote-unquote mistake in the office place or say something that expressing their faith but doesn't fit what the politically correct thought police think? They're going to lose their job, and there's nothing for them to fall back on. I think that there needs to be a lot of pushback here, not to defend what Phil Robertson said, but to be less intolerant of him having said it. And besides, he doesn't do this on his show. My kids can watch his show. They love his show. If he did that on his show, I'd feel a lot different about it.
And Governor Palin, isn't she being hypocritical? She was in, she and many of her allies were screaming bloody murder when Martin Bashir on MSNBC made some very, some awful comments about her.
And he should have been fired. Look, I think there's a big difference between espousing your views as if I'm opposed to gay marriage because I believe it should be about a man and a woman. I disagree with Obamacare. You know, all the things that Phil could have said. He has the ability to do it. But what he said, the way that he literally attacked homosexuals as if they were leading a deviant lifestyle. Lopping that in with bestiality, etc. For Jindal and Cruz and Palin to come to support that type of speech is outrageous.
There's a huge online backlash. Another thing that offended a lot of people this year is when Miley Cyrus did her twerking and her very over-sexualized routine at MTV's Video Music Awards in August. Again, that was something that had been rehearsed. MTV knew exactly what she was going to do when she hit the stage. Still, a lot of people were offended. So should someone there have been fired or suspended, or is that a different case, Jason? Because unlike Robertson's comments, her kind of outrage, again, it sells songs and draws viewers.
Right. No, it's completely different. First off, if you're watching the MTV Music Awards, you're expecting to be offended. I mean, they come up with a new shtick every year. Anyone who says clutch the pearls after seeing Miley Cyrus ride around on a wrecking ball hasn't watched MTV since the 1980s. That's the first thing. The second thing is I care nothing for what Sarah Palin and Ted Cruz want to say because it's completely disingenuous. These are free market capitalists. And the decision that A&E made was a complete free market capitalist decision. Their decision was this will offend our audience, this will affect advertisers, and therefore we're getting rid of them. They would love to claim that this is some sort of liberal backlash, but it isn't. This is baseline capitalism, and they're embarrassed that their own side has resulted in this man being shut up.
You know, I want you guys to weigh in quickly on this one because people are saying out there that this could turn into something similar to Chick-fil-A, a duck fillet, some people have called it. Duck Dynasty fans have really, as I said, big backlash on social media. There's a backfill Facebook page that already says it has 100,000 fans who have signed a petition, that they're going to deliver a petition to A&E next week. Twitter fans can sign another petition to boycott A&E. Will the backlash overwhelm the initial outrage in this new battle in the culture wars? Rod, quick answer from you.
I think that Phil will probably end up leaving the show, and the whole family will too, rather than compromise on this. And I don't think the marketplace had a chance to work. They reacted so quickly, A&E did, they didn't even hear from fans.
Tom?
Look, Chick-fil-A is thriving. It's moved on. We're a society that deals in the moment. In a week from now, we won't be talking about this again.
Jason, you agree?
Ask Paula Dean, ask Dog the Bounty Hunter. This duck might be cooked. I think they might really be in trouble. The backlash isn't going to stop this.
All right. Robert Dreher, Jason Johnson, and Tom Doherty, appreciate you all joining us tonight to talk about this. And coming up, could we solve our unemployment problem?